to another video. Today I'm going to be ranking every Mission Impossible movie from worst to best. So I've seen every Mission Impossible movie. All of them were spectacular, and I will be reviewing them, ranking them from worst to best. Let me know what you guys think of my rankings, and then from there I'll be able to see what you guys think of it. So Mission Impossible series is currently my favorite movie series. It features Tom Cruise as the protagonist, Ethan Hunt, who works for the International Impossible Missions Force, or known as the IMF, which is a fictional agency. So if you guys haven't watched any of the Mission Impossible movies, like if you haven't watched the rest, I recommend you watch them. They were all great, every single one of them. So without further ado, let's get into the ranking. Number 6, Mission Impossible 2. So in Mission Impossible 2, Ethan gets his IMF team to stop a German virus before it's released by terrorists. So his mission it's made possible due to the fact that he is not the only person after samples of the disease, but he must also contest with a gang of international terrorists that were headed by a turned bad former IMF agent who has already managed to steal the cure. So the release date of this was in May 24th, 2000. The director was John Woo. The box office numbers was $546.4 million. The budget was $125 million, and the music was composed by Hans Zimmer. So yeah, I saw this quite a few times. I watched it right before seeing Fallout. It was really good. Obviously, Tom Cruise played Ethan Hunt even better than the first. He plays Ethan Hunt amazing in every movie. So I recommend you watch this one, every movie. Number 5, Mission Impossible 3. So Ethan has just married the love of his life, Julia. So he's retired, and he just got married. But then he's called back to action to face one of his toughest enemies, Owen Davian, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's an international broker of arms and information, who's as cunning as he is ruthless. So Davian emerges to threaten Hunt and all he holds dear, including Julia, which is the man he loves. So the initial release was May 3rd, 2006, so 6 years after Mission Impossible 2. The director was J.J. Abrams. In the box office, it made $397.8 million. The budget was $150 million. So after this one, I think what Tom Cruise said is, I want to be like an American James Bond, and I think he is starting to slightly become an American James Bond. Mission Impossible 3 was the best of the I don't know how to call it, like the movies without the titles of Mission Impossible. And then at 4 got a title, 5 got a title, and 6 got a title. So those 3 without the titles were, out of the 3, Mission Impossible 3 was by far the best. Number 4, Mission Impossible. So the first installment in the Mission Impossible series was also a great way to start. This was like a complete introduction to Mission Impossible. So when U.S. government operative Ethan Hunt, played by Tom Cruise, and his mentor Jim Phelps, John Voight, they go on like a covert assignment that takes a disastrous turn. So Jim Phelps is killed, and Ethan becomes a prime murder suspect. Now Ethan's a fugitive, and Ethan recruits the hacker Luther Stickle, played by Ving Rhames, who was also in every Mission Impossible movie ever made, and Maverick pilot Franz Krieger, played by John Reno. They're going to help him sneak into a heavily guarded CIA building to retrieve a confidential computer a computer file that proves his innocence and proves he did not murder Jim Phelps. So this was a great introduction to Mission Impossible. It was the best first movie of a series ever. It introduced Ving Rhames, who was he's also in every other Mission Impossible movie. So Release date was May 22nd, 1996. The director was Brian De Palma. The box office number made $457.7 million, and the budget was $80 million. So very good. Number 3, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. So Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol was when the Mission Impossible movies really started to step up a notch, like the scene where Tom Cruise literally climbs the Burj Khalifa and all that good stuff. And so the IMF was blamed for a terrorist attack on the Kremlin. So Ethan Hunt and the entire this is a different IMF team than we see in the 5th and the 6th. So the IMF is disavowed by the United States government, while the president initiates a ghost protocol, forced to go off the grid, left without resources or backup. So then Ethan must somehow clear the agency's name and prevent another attack. So complicating matters even a lot more. Ethan has to undertake another impossible mission with a group of fellow IMF fugitives whose actual motives are a lot more suspect. So the release date was December 16, 2011. This was the first movie I saw in theaters ever. It was Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. It was the first movie I've ever seen in theaters. The box office score was $694.7 million. The budget was $140 million. So this Mission Impossible 4 took a huge step forward from the previous 3 Mission Impossible movies, and it was a huge, massive step. So any fans who were put off by his anybody who was put off by his tabloid fodder exploits will be lured back by his considerable charms, which are all put to great use here. Number 2, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. So Mission Impossible Rogue Nation was mind-blowingly spectacular. So there's a new threat that has emerged called the Syndicate, and it's a network of highly skilled operatives who are dedicated to establishing a new world order with an escalating series of terrorist attacks. So faced with what may be the most impossible mission yet, Ethan, he gathers his team and joins forces with a new character named Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson, and a disavowed British agent who may or may not be a member of this deadly rogue nation. So the release date of this film was July 31st, 2015. I also did watch this in theaters. The box office score was $682.7 million. The budget was $150 million. So this is like a really rare sequel, because nobody expects a sequel like this to be super good. This was its franchise feeling not exhausted, but surprisingly resurgent after 19 years of counting. So Tom Cruise strides through Rogue Nation with a combination of swagger and winking self-deprecation that have helped make him one of the Hollywood's most enduring and most lovable screen products. And it's true, Tom Cruise is right now my favorite actor. Number 1, Mission Impossible Fallout. So Mission Impossible Fallout is by far one of the best action movies ever made. Some will see the light during the first act Halo jump, where Tom Cruise caps off a breathtaking jump from 35,000 feet in the air out of a C-17 with an aerial photographer, Craig O'Brien, capturing them at the stunt through an IMAX lens strapped to his head. And others might conjure the film's brilliance during the bare-knuckle fight scenes that follows in the bathrooms of a Parisian nightclub. Henry Cavill packed a lot of firepower into each punch that he literally has to reload his arms. And Christopher McQuarrie, invoking the best of James Bond as he shoots the brawl without any music on his soundtrack, makes sure that we absorb every body blow and wince at each piece of bustle tile. So Mission Impossible 6, I've seen it 3 times in theaters. So Ethan and his IMF team joined forces with one of the CIA's top assassins, August Walker, played by Henry Cavill, to prevent a disaster of epic proportions. Arms dealer John Lark and a group of terrorists known as the Apostles plan to use 3 plutonium cores for a simultaneous nuclear attack on the Vatican, Jerusalem, and the Mecca in Saudi Arabia, When the weapons they just went missing, Ethan and his crew find themselves in a desperate race against time to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. So the release was July 27th, 2018. Director was Christopher McQuarrie. So far, it has made $329.8 million, and the budget was $178 million. This was by far one of the best action movies that Tubi ever made. I had a wonderful cast, brilliant, well thought action. Henry Cavill's punches just like blew me away, and by how powerful they were. Tom Cruise obviously gave us. He was like, Bond, watch out. I'm sorry, Bond fans. I love Bond a lot, but like this was just magnificent. So yeah, that's going to be my entire ranking of every Mission Impossible movie. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think of my rankings of the Mission Impossible movies, and that's gonna be it.